thank BIT for hosting this conference and for inviting me to speak today. Just a first brief discussion on Project Sand Dollar. Okay, I'd like to also extend apologies for my governor, who would have liked to have been here today, but for very many reasons he could not, but he sends his regards in any. So I was going to go by the presentation, but I'll forego the presentation today and just have a discussion with you instead. I recognize that we're pressed for time. You can leave the slide right there and we'll just continue. So just to put the Bahamas in economic context for you, the Bahamas has the third highest GDP per capita in the Western Hemisphere. Our financial sector is very highly developed by international standards, particularly when considered in terms of the size of the deposit base and the outstanding credit of the domestic banking system relative to GDP. Despite all of this, however, the size of the population is still relatively small by international standards as well. And in this regard, we also experience what is considered the 35th highest density of bank branches in the world when you compare it on a per capita basis, and the 15th highest density of ATMs in the world. Despite all of these great things that happen for us, and the Bahamas is still experiencing quite a bit of uneven access to financial services. When we pay particular attention to our dispersed geography, on many of our rural family islands, there is a lack of physical bank branches, and there's also a lack of ATMs. This results in banking services being very unreliable, and in very many cases, unreachable in any way other than through traditional banking services which used to be offered and now may only be available through electronic banking means. Where these branches have been in existence, some of these products that were delivered through traditional physical banking means have been scaled back considerably due to rising costs. As a result of the shrinkage in the bank presence, we're seeing a heightened use of cash, particularly in some of the rural family islands. With these challenges in mind, our unique geography, our varied population density on each island, our sporadic banking services available on some of those family islands, our attachment to transacting in cash, and the increased cost of these electronic payments, and the need to improve consumer protection, the central bank has been actively seeking ways to promote and deploy enhanced outcomes in this area. So what is it that we want? Well, we want the payment systems to operate more efficiently. We want to achieve more inclusive, cost-affordable, and even access to financial services across all of the islands in the Bahamas. Further, we want to strengthen our national defenses against money laundering and other illicit activities that thrive in cash-intensive environments. As a result, for the Bahamas anyway, financial inclusion is being driven by fintech. Broadly, the central bank has taken an active role in promoting the modernization of payment systems in the Bahamas by deploying significantly improved technology since the early 2000s. The fundamental goal of this initiative is to use new technology to broaden financial access and reduce costs. It also is intended to enable greater, less expensive use of electronic payments across all of the islands. So Project Sand Dollar is just the latest phase in this initiative. The intended outcomes of Project Sand Dollar is that all residents in the Bahamas would have access to a digital fiat on a modernized digital platform. This will allow for reduced service delivery costs, increased transactional efficiency, and improved overall level of financial inclusion across all of the Bahama Islands. With this comes enhanced security and accountability. So the central bank undertook a rigorous process to select a technology solutions provider for the design and implementation of a digital fiat in the Bahamas. As such, in March of this year, NZIA Limited was selected as the solutions provider for this initiative, as it brings together the collective know-how and expertise of IBM, a leader in enterprise blockchain, along with Zenus's PTE Limited, a Singapore-based software development company that specializes in blockchain solutions. NZIA's proposed solution comprehensively addresses concerns related to the implementation and usage of a digital currency in the Bahamian context. A few aspects of the proposed solution are interoperability among existing and new channels for the provision of payment services, offline functionality, which means that even if communications are disrupted between the islands, the digital wallet can still be used, digital ID solution using KYC and identity features incorporated in the system design that can be piloted for use in the financial services sector further down the line. So how exactly will this work? Okay, well, the system will be token-based, where digital Bahamian dollars will be available for use across all payment platforms and existing or proposed e-wallet solutions. Transactions will be processed in real time with fraud detection, multi-factor authentication, and embedded KYC, AML, and CFT identity features. A ceiling on the amount of digital currency in a mobile wallet will be imposed based on the following user categories: commercial customers, individual local residents, and individual non-residents. Businesses are distinguished from individuals in this system. Also, businesses will be required to integrate their digital wallets with their deposit accounts at banks. This may also be the case for some individuals depending on the limits that they wish to have on their wallets. Further, onboarding of participants and the issuance of wallets and distribution of digital currency will happen through existing channels. There'll be no new channels created for this, and the central bank will not be issuing digital currency directly to the public. When performing a transaction, a QR code will have to be used. That QR code will either be domiciled on the user's digital sand dollar card, or it will be generated using an e-wallet on their mobile phones. So digital currency will run on a virtually feeless payment network. The indirect costs associated with banking and physical cash will be removed, and there will be no substantial implementation costs to banks and non-bank financial institutions. The central bank will develop a pilot and deploy that pilot of the Bahamian dollar for both wholesale and retail applications. The piloted version of the digital currency, enabled by NZIA, will be circulated in Exoma as early as the end of 2019. Over the pilot phase, the central bank will work closely with NZIA to ensure that the relevant facets of this digital system are all fully functional before it is more widely deployed to the other islands beginning in early 2020. The central bank also anticipates a growth in private sector innovation as a result of the digital currency project. The bank intends to facilitate this growth by introducing a regulatory sandbox to allow for the testing of innovative fintech products within a very controlled environment. Through this sandbox, we expect to see e-commerce initiatives emerge, microcredit facilities, remote banking relationships, and others. Although the drafting of the regulations for the sandbox will begin soon, it will not be available by the end of 2019 when the pilot is initiated in Exuma. Now, as one of my colleagues mentioned earlier, all of these things come with risks, right? So when we look beyond the digital currency initiative, the increased use of fintech generally, as we all know, has benefits, but it also comes with its risks. The most concerning risk for us at the moment is cybersecurity threats. Statistics released by the Ministry of National Security in the Bahamas in 2018 revealed that cybercrime has been on the rise. In fact, cybercrime increased by 80% between 2016 and 2017. As a result of this is a grave area of concern for policymakers in the country. Also, for us, at this time, the Bahamas has only 3 pieces of legislation governing cybersecurity. The Computer Misuse Act, which was legislated in 2003, the Data Protection Act, which was legislated in 2003, and the Electronic Communications and Transactions Act, which was legislated in 2006. Now, as you can see, collectively, all of these legislations can be considered outdated by any standard. And certainly, we recognize that these do not provide an adequate regulatory framework that looks after the cybersecurity environment in the country. Also, specific to the digital currency, and legal and regulatory reforms will be needed to safeguard consumer protection and data sovereignty. Therefore, the Bahamas seeks to modernize its legal framework to protect us in the cyber environment. So having recognized this, the central bank is of the view that heightened financial education around cybersecurity is needed to fill the gap. As such, the second part of the country's financial literacy campaign, Get Money Smart Bahamas, will focus primarily on coaching consumers on how to protect themselves against cyber threats. It is expected that the campaign will also highlight the safety implements built into technology platforms and insurance mechanisms that financial institutions provide to reimburse their clients should they become victims of cyber attacks. Further, the government, in conjunction with the central bank, is working towards a national ID. Additionally, the sand dollar is offered on a private, decentralized wireless payment network using secure application protocols. This allows bank and non-bank financial institutions to connect seamlessly and interact with the sand dollar platform without exposing their existing systems to additional risks or vulnerabilities. These efforts are expected to improve public comfort and acceptance around the usage of digital products. So, all conditions will never be perfect, but the central bank is forging ahead with its plans for Project Sand Dollar. We are aware that increasing the level of digital payments throughout our islands could potentially put some users at higher risk of cyber attack, but this is just a different kind of risk, as we realize that cash payments and cash transactions in general are not risk-free either. However, if we strive to see more inclusive economic growth in the Bahamas, the benefits of fintech innovations outweigh the costs when it comes to financial inclusion especially. Admittedly, for us, this is only the beginning of our journey, and we anticipate that challenges will arise, but through the engagement of our stakeholders, coupled with the development of needed regulations and policies, the work will get done. As we also know, platforms like this will facilitate regional dialogue and allow for the information sharing that is most needed in this ever-changing global space. We look forward to the road ahead. And before I conclude, I'll just say on a personal note that, as you are all aware, we've experienced an extraordinary natural disaster over the past couple of weeks. My country is still dealing with this situation day in and day out, and I appreciate very much the comments that were made earlier by the BIT team and by the Senator. And I also appreciate very much the comments that have been made by you individually, either to me or collectively from your countries to ours. Even though in the island that I was in, Nassau, on the island of New Providence, we did not experience any significant issues from the hurricane. We all are affected by this throughout the country, either through friends, families, colleagues, or just the sheer stress of having gone through such a very close call. The major part of the population resides on my island, so everyone, as you could imagine, were very concerned, what would have happened had that hurricane actually hit the largest population, which is about 290,000 people, when we consider what has actually happened to the other smaller islands. So again, thank you very much for your thoughts, your prayers, and your consideration, and all your kind words. Thank you.